Hi friends, welcome back to Arc Tutorials. This is Node.js full tutorial series for absolute beginners. We are continuing to learn about the inbuilt modules that are available in Node.js. In the last episode, I gave you an overview and a simple working code for HTTP module. Today, I'm going to give you multiple variations of file system. One of the most useful utilities, especially when you're working on any enterprise project, any serious project, you will require to work with some kind of file systems in some or the other way. Again, whatever I'm covering as part of this built-in module series is just basically few use cases, but as we progress in the series, we'll work on more complex pieces, extend them, use them. So you will learn eventually more or less everything about this, but today is overview coding of file system. We'll read, we'll write, and we'll learn how to create directory using fs module. Let's get started. This is part 2 of the built-in modules. So I'm not listing them here, but I have already covered HTTP, and this is the file system today that we are covering. So you can see here we are tracking it here. In the last episode I showed you how to create a server, how to process and how to send a request, how to start the server. Today we are looking at file system. Today we will learn how to read a file, how to write a file, how to create a directory, etc. So without wasting any time, let's jump into code. Alright, so I have my node.js tutorial folder and I'll add a new file. I'll say built-in module fs.js. Alright, so now just like any other thing that we have seen earlier, first thing is to import that particular module. Okay, so fs equal to require fs. Now fs stands for file system that we are using. Now the next we will do is we will also create a dummy, let's say a simple file. Let's call it example.txt, right? And so add some text in it. Welcome to Arc Tutorials. All right, and this is what we will do. We'll have a simple text in it which says welcome to Arc Tutorials. Now inside the file system, what we'll do, fs.read file. Okay, now this is a function. Now what you can do mention here is the name of the file that you are doing, and it will take a some parameters. The first one would be UTF-8, that is the encoding, the format, and finally you will have error and you will have actual data that you will work with. Okay, so this is the function which takes three parameters: the file name, the UTF encoding, and the error and the data. Now you can write if error, then you can throw a message or do a console log dot error, give the error. Else if there was no error in reading, and once it's errored out, you can just return that value. Else what we can do is just read the file content and just do a console log, right? So you don't really need a else part. Then if it fails, it will return automatically, and do a console log dot data. Okay, and you can also add a comment or so if you would like, and say file content, right? And you can say data. So all this will do is when you run this program, it will try and read from our example.txt that we just created here. Welcome to Arc Tutorials, and it will, if it fails to read, it will throw the error and return. If not, we are just console logging for now. Okay, in the next use case I'll show you how to run it also. So built-in module fs.js. So you can see here it says file content welcome to Arc Tutorials. Okay, now let's say if I give a file name which does not exist, now it should throw an error, right? You can see here it is throwing the error, so it's working as expected. That's the first use case. Okay, now there are other things that we can provide and use. I'll show you one more use case. So this is use case 1, reading a file. Okay, and I'll give you one more use case, which is use case number 2, writing to a file. right? So when you say file system, you will do, these are the common operations that we do. We either read from a file or we write to a file. Okay, so let's do the same thing again. You don't have to import the fs again since I'm in the same file. So here what I'll do is I will write fs dot write file, and we will say output should be output.txt. That's the desired, that write to this file. Okay, and what do you want to write, correct? So now what we can do here is we can define a variable and say let file data equal to empty, and if it is true then file data equal to data. So we are assigning the same value there, and in the writing what we will do is we will just assign that value back. Okay, that's a simple thing we can do, that once we have the data, all we have to do is writing to the file. So first parameter is the name of the file that you want to write to. Second will be the actual data that you want to write, and the third will be the error handling, which is what if errors out. Okay, what if this errors out? If it errors out, we will just check for error and throw a message. So we'll throw here console log dot say error writing to file and close it and return. And if there is no error, that means if it was successfully written, you can just do a console log and say successfully wrote output. Alright, so that's the most simplest code. We are reading from one file and we are writing to another file. Now in this case I have not created output.txt, which means it will create it when we run this. So again run the application and you see it says successfully wrote output. So let's see if we have output.txt. Output.txt is there, it created, but file data is coming empty because it did not get assigned. So we can fix that also. Let's check. So it's coming empty basically because it's not aligning it. So it's, since it's inside this function, it's not writing it. So that way we can, there are different ways of how you can do that. In this case it's not writing because it will loop it, right? It's a encoding, so it will not work that way. So my bad on that part. But overall, let's say you just have some data that you want to write for now. Some str equal to welcome to our tutorials. You have it, and just pass that string to write, and let's see what it should basically write the output. So you can see here it comes welcome to our tutorials that we passed here. Alright, so that is how you write. So the methods you are learning is read file and you have write file. Okay, ideally you would do all of this in a class, so you will have the data captured somewhere. Okay, now one more use case I want to show you before I leave you today is to creating a directory, right? So there are other methods like fs.mkdir. Now this is just like your normal command that we give, right, which is to make a directory. Okay, so you can create that also, and let's do that real quick. Use case number 3, make a directory. Alright, so here we can do fs.mkdir, and you will write what is the name of the directory that you want, and again it would take a error, and here you will define if error, then throw console.log error creating directory and return. If it was successfully created, create successfully created directory. Run it using node and you can see there should be a new folder. You can see here my directory, that's what we created. Okay, so these are some of the common use cases of FS module, which is to read a file, to write a file, or to make a directory. Okay, I've shown you 3, but there can be many things like checking if a file or a directory exists or not, and much more. So you can do that easily um, look, like say you can also do something like fs.access and check if that exists or not, etc., etc. Right? So those are many things we'll cover as we move along, but for today I think it's too much if you are a beginner. So take it easy, take it light on yourself, and we will see you in the next episode. I hope this is clear. This is one of the most commonly used ones for reading and writing purpose. In the next episode, I will give you an overview of path module of Node.js. Very, very important, especially when you are doing file name, manipulation, extensions, etc., etc. Right? So thank you so much for joining in this episode. Make sure that you go through the code, stop, pause the video, go over it whenever you want, and take it forward from there. Okay? Thank you so much. I'll see you in the next episode. Take care. Bye.